Y'all look out. Oh, all right, Mom. Well, I tried to make you a video this morning, and again, my phone cut off. Anyway, so I'm going to remake it now before I lose all my light. And I could have swore I had read this story to you before, but I went back and I couldn't find it. And Angela said she hadn't seen it, so maybe I didn't. But if I did, I apologize. I'm just going to read it again for the hell of it. And part of it, oh my God. Disorganized. Anyway, I know. Obviously, it's a video for you, but it's also for somebody else. I know. I guess it was 3 weeks ago or something. I made you a video where I said I was done apologizing, and I am. I think you texted me back or wrote me back that you enjoyed that story. But as I told the story about I'm not apologizing anymore, I had to talk in hypotheticals. Which I'm going to kind of do again, because in my hypothetical world, with my hypothetical problem that I've been hypothetically dealing with for 3 years, everybody knows what the hell I'm talking about. And having a difference of opinion about how something is to be done or corrected. Again, with two hypothetical gentlemen that I have a lot of respect for. I guess we just go about things differently. Not I guess, we definitely do. We're from two different worlds, really. Anyway. I wasn't happy with a decision. And I just made my feelings known. I didn't go blabbering off, tattletaling, or making videos and posting them, but I just addressed it. They're going to do what they want with it, I guess. I'm not in charge. But we got up this morning, Father's Day. Tim and I went fishing. Didn't have the best of days. I mean, we started off pretty strong and then just fizzled out altogether. And then right there before we left, we finally got into some catfish. So I got 5 or 6 catfish. I sidetracked again talking about fishing. But it was Father's Day. And I was just texting people, wishing them Happy Father's Day. So I texted the one gentleman who has a great affection for baseball. And we were talking last week. I never really had. I didn't really care about baseball. Come to find out, because I really don't understand what's going on. It's much more, as he said, cerebral and strategy and head games. So I wished him a Happy Father's Day. And just to show that I was not totally clueless, I quoted him, I think it was Tom Hanks talking, I don't know, Madonna, or some A League of Their Own. There's no crying in baseball. To which he came back with a short text: "The chicken flies at midnight." I'm like, what in the hell is a chicken flies at midnight? And I looked it up, and sure enough, I'm not going to try to explain it to you, but that's a real thing, a baseball analogy or strategy, or I have to look it up again, but you can look it up. The chicken flies at midnight. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. I've never heard that. Now I got to come up with something. I said a rebuttal. Maybe something he's never heard. Which, or a toxopholite. I don't know if he knows what a toxopholite is or not, but I'm going to try to explain it. Again, I'm rambling on, but if I've read this to you before, I apologize. But this story is, you're only as weak as your strongest link. And I wrote this shortly after Dana Hines took her own life. And it was an allegory about, well, let's put two and two together. You're only as weak as your strongest link. Like most young boys, when I was a kid, I often ran around through the woods pretending I was some kind of wild Indian, making bows and arrows out of whatever I could find. This would always lead me to the tool shed or junk drawer to find some kind of string to string my bow with. Nylon, cotton, kite string, even a shoestring would always adorn my primitive weapon. As I hapless and blissfully shot at cowboys and buffalo, it never once occurred to me how important that string was. After all, a bow without a string is just a stick. Later in life, the toxopholite in me returned as an obsession. I made bows of every type and arrows of all configurations, always using primitive techniques right down to hide glue and sinew. But for many, many years, I always used manufactured commercial materials to make my bowstrings. This was a contradiction in terms that must be corrected. Which kind of goes to part of why I was upset with the, anyway. You can't be a true toxopholite or primitive enthusiast and buy your string material. So thus began another endeavor, one which ultimately taught me much more than how to make a string. When you make a string, your initial intuition is almost always wrong. Everything seems backwards. For instance, you may pick up a bundle of suitable fibers, roll them into a bundle like a candy cane, and think you're a genius. But when you let go of the string, the whole thing falls apart to the floor. You also may think that a strong string or rope needs... You done? A strong string or rope needs big, strong fibers. But again, this is not true. The strongest cords ever made are always constructed of many smaller, thinner fibers. the smaller the stronger, and that's a fact. The secret to making a string is the same secret to making a strong family. Many small fibers working in unison will always take more load than fewer large fibers working alone. The secret is called the Flemish bond. When you make a bowstring, whether it's sinew, rawhide, catgut, or flax, the smaller you can refine your material to start with, the stronger your finished product will be. The Flemish bond, or twist, is the act of twisting many small fibers into individual plies or cords, and then reverse twisting those cords into a string. The string stays together because all of the small fibers of the individual cords try to unravel. When they try to unravel, they create internal friction with one another. With other fibers trying to do the same thing. A stalemate is reached and a string is created. A bowstring is nothing more than a big family working as a whole. Just like my family, and probably yours, we all have our internal friction and problems, but it is the friction that resolves us to be strong. So what happens when a bowstring breaks? Why did it occur? Was there a weak link? Again, our intuition leads us astray. Have you ever heard the saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link? Build a bowstring and you will find out why this is not true. If a quarterback gets sacked every time the ball is snapped, does that mean he is the weakest link? After all, he's only 215 pounds, and the combined weight of his offensive line is over 1,000. If you take a length of chain and put it under load, systematically breaking every link until you were left with one, you may determine that link was the strongest. But was it really? Try to pull your truck out of the mud with that one single link and then see what you discover. Chains, bowstrings, and families are a product of a whole and not a dissection of their parts. A bowstring breaks not because the fibers in its cord were weak. It breaks because it was asked to do more work and carry more load than its sister fibers. In manufacturing, had the strongest cord lent some of its fibers to the weakest cord, the load would have averaged out. And after some initial squabbling and friction, the family unit would remain a whole. Therefore, in my opinion, you are only as weak as your strongest link, who is in fact useless by itself. I always feel guilty and sad when a bowstring breaks. After all, I was the strongest link. I made the string, and in my failings, I'm alone with a useless stick in my hand. What did I do wrong? How could I have prevented this binding tragedy? Which signs did I ignore as straining fibers scream for relief? How selfish I must be to leisurely count animals enjoying their flight while never giving any thought to what propels them. How will I ever continue when my family of Flemish fibers lies in careless tangles of inattention? The guilt is unbearable. But then I remember, you are only as weak as your strongest link. I am the strongest link, and I am useless alone. Whatever sadness and guilt I may be feeling, I must be. What the hell is that? Whatever sadness and guilt I'm feeling, I must be strong and lend my strength to those who are overstrained by the burden. Though my family may lie in tangles, I must pick up the pieces and learn from my mistakes. I must forgive myself and set down my guilt, for the burden of guilt will break even the most carefully crafted string. And as I bond with the broken pieces, my memories of what once was will twist and weave around one another with the friction of a farewell embrace. And in a Flemish bond of love, I have repaired my strength, my lifeline, my family. I will never again take for granted the ingenuity, complexity, and serviceability of a simple bowstring. In the world of archery, there are many more exciting things to learn, love, and appreciate, but there is absolutely no joy without the string. An archer can only be an archer on a whole. There are no weak links. In fact, of all the things that make up the tools of the toxopholite, the very thinnest, smallest, lightest of all is also the strongest. It's the string, the tie that binds his whole world together. I've always found it funny that in most things in life, the so-called weakest link is quite often the strongest. Building a bowstring is like building a family. It's always the strongest link that sacrifices to bring the family together. So, obviously there's a lot of the allegory or analogy of me raising Hunter and my guilt and mistakes in what I had created or tried to create, and the breaking and the failures and then the repairs. And I was thinking today how far he has come from where we were just a couple years ago or 10 years ago. But I also wanted to throw that word out there in my rebuttal. Not much of a rebuttal. But again, it's another story about, even when we have conflicts, disagreements with one another, it is the conflict and the friction that we work through to create a strong bond or create a strong home. So I may lose the debate on my hypothetical problem, on my hypothetical project, but we will work through it. At least I hope it will. Anyway, that's your Sunday read. Hope you had a good day. Hope you're feeling better. I know you're having a rough go of it at the moment. But I hope I hadn't read the story to you before. Anyway, I'm babbling. I need to clean catfish and go to bed. So I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.